honestly, at 19, my dad had died very suddenly, 3 months before. And Louise, my friend, had been along to this music group in what turned out to be Ronan's house.
One of the things that Joanne and myself have always had is the feeling that you're greatly loved and it's possible for everybody. By the time it had run its course 20 years on, there was about 100 adults. Absolute
fun and joy and, you know, just again, that hallmark of, Holy Spirit's here.
Our community was absolutely full of, diverse people.
Yeah. We didn't know
we now realise that we're both therapists now, so we now understand.
Yeah. You know, after 12 years, we were able to adopt our beautiful boy, Nisha, from Guatemala, followed 3 years later by Shun. Because we had so many artistic and creative and sensitive types, they felt very uncomfortable in other situations, right? Yeah. So it was almost like in His mercy, He brought us all together to sort of go, almost to find your tribe a little bit and to go, look, I'm not mad. Actually, this is how I function. And to, you know, that He loved us into being more of our real selves. Yeah. And that kind of then, out of that, you can birth something new. Actually, I heard Brené Brown say the other day that creativity that isn't expressed is not benign. It becomes toxic and it metastasizes inside us and does damage.
I've always been interested in what the prophetic voice is. And it seems to me that people who are kind of bucking the trend, you know, not doing it the normal way, who are not just trying to, you know, work themselves half to death and then squeeze in a half an hour for church or 2 hours for church on Sunday morning.
You can't rely entirely on yourself. We're not supposed to. Like, we are absolutely wired for that connection.
Like, you know, that God's working over here doing this thing and you were like, it would just open a door in your head. I love the idea that we get a chance to be those guys. You know, we get to go in and anoint things and go, see that? That's great. I love the potential of that.
Hello, Rónán and Joanne.
Hello, how are you?
I am great. I am delighted you're here. In fact, I'm very delighted. So thank you. That's been a while coming. You're back in my head for ages. I think I would love to get these guys in here. So I really do appreciate it. So for we have a lot of common friends who would know us and see this and have a good laugh, and we'll have a laugh at their expense, hopefully, as well. And we also have people who would know you, I know, and I would like to introduce them to you in some way. But first, let's go right back to the beginning, get your context, your family of both of you before you met.
Okay.
And then how this Emmaus Community formed. We'll journey through some of the ministry years and where things are at now and your hopes for the future. That's kind of the big arch.
Lovely.
But that's where I'm going to take it. Okay, go for that. Brilliant. So, Joanne, let's start with you.
Okay.
Where did you grow up? Where did you grow up?
Okay, well, I suppose I'd have to start by telling you where I was born. I was born in Armagh, but my family had lived there for 5 years, and then we moved to Dublin when I was 2. So I would probably tell you that I grew up in Dublin. Actually, it turns out we actually had grown up quite close to each other. So, most of my life was really for many years in this kind of one kind of square mile around kind of Killiney, and I'm the youngest of 5.
Right, youngest of 5?
Yeah.
Okay, we're the youngest, okay.
Yeah, so other than that, well, now where we live is Wicklow.
I was trying to think about your parents' house. You were saying, I knew your house was. I've been to your house. You were around the corner a few blocks or something.
Yeah. Well, I was up in Clooney Grove, and if you know where Louise would have grown up.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we were on the same road.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we were lucky that.
Okay. But you didn't know each other at that stage? Not running around the streets or kids in the streets?
No, not at all.
No, not early. But by the time we were in our teens, we would have had a lot of mutual friends. And in fact, it was a mutual friend of ours who introduced us. I grew up in Cabotili, not far from where Joanne grew up. And, we were, kind of not madly faithful family, but, we were, very much going to church and doing all that stuff. And, I would have thought my dad had a kind of a pretty vibrant faith. Kept it to himself, but he would have had something going on, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
And my mum would have been, saying prayers. But it wasn't necessarily the same thing. But bizarrely, I was just asked one day to join a local folk group in a church, and of course, the only thing I ever wanted was to be a rock star. So the idea of playing in front of 500 or 600 people was just impossible to say no to, And so I just said, 14, 15 years of age. But very quickly it became clear that myself and my friend Tony, who had brought along as well, both of us playing guitar. And both of us,
what age were you start playing?
We were 14-ish, Myself and Tony started playing together when we were 10.
Did you self-taught, go to lessons? What did you do?
So what happened was I was a piano player, but I was at one stage my aunt gave me a guitar, and we were able to kind of, with the help of a local teacher at the primary school, Alistair McNeil, basically started to kind of figure out this on the piano translates to this on the guitar. All this kind of stuff. So it was really great, and we were mad Beatles fans as 10-year-olds. So we sang all the Beatles songs, Simon and Garfunkel songs, all that kind of stuff. Close harmony, myself and Tony, loved it. But anyway, in the meantime, somebody said, "Look, come along to this charismatic group. They've loads of songs." And I was thinking to myself, "We're going to need material for this group, even though I was, this folk group." And I went along to this charismatic meeting and had my head blown completely in terms of the presence of God.
Where was this happening?
So this was in Sallynoggin. So there was a very large meeting of 400 or 500 people in Sallynoggin.
Right.
Tuesday night called Mount Zion, and it was just like one of those things. It was just very heady, emotional experience.
Yeah.
Was
that a turning point for your own personal faith at that stage?
Oh, absolutely huge. I mean, it wasn't that there wasn't something there. I mean, I was an altar server and it was all that kind of stuff, but this was really like something happened, like a bomb went off, So I pulled everybody that I knew along, including Tony, who thought it was insane and didn't come again. But but what happened was, I now know about myself because I'm a real artist. And I went up and down, and I had big high experiences of God and very depressed feelings. And after 3 or 4 years of doing this, going to things and Camp Jesus and various other things, I just went, "This is too much for me." And I just went, "Okay, Lord, I need to leave," But
no, hold that, because I don't want to get too far ahead of me, because I want to get Joanne up to where you're at. So you're. Okay, I see how you're at, because that's probably going to link into how you sort of met. I don't know if you were trailed along into that, but we'll see in a second.
Yeah, sure.
So you said you had your parents, both your parents were around. Were you singing at that stage, or what were you doing?
No, I suppose I always sang, and being the youngest, the music I was exposed to was quite different to that of my friends, because my sisters were 10 and 11 and 12 years older, so I was listening to all kinds of stuff that my friends wouldn't listen to. But I remember one day, because obviously they were driving now at this stage, and being in the back of their little Citroen Diane, and they're listening to the Eagles with their little tape recorder on the seat of the car, and I'm there singing in the background, and they're going, "She's harmonising. Like, how is she doing this?" You know what I mean? So I suppose my thing was always about, our house was always full of music, but for me it was always just the harmony. I never really was interested in the melody. As soon as I heard a melody, I'd immediately just make one up. I didn't know I was making one up. I just thought that's what you did. But, and then I think all through school, like I went to the local kind of, convent school, and we would have been in choirs and stuff there. But, and like both my sisters would have been, had their voices trained and all the rest of it. But I think by the time my parents got down to number 5, they were just exhausted, because they'd done the whole kind of running around, doing fetishes with them and doing all these kind of things over the years. Yeah. So I was kind of pretty much left to my own devices, really, essentially. But would sing all the time, and myself and my friend Louise, like we'd make up songs, and, just be kind of, now you wouldn't call them a song, but it'd be just sort of, stream of consciousness stuff, and make it into an opera, and, do all this kind of thing. So I guess that was always there. And I think we would have gone to the local church from there, attending the kind of folk mass from when we were about sort of 14.
This is one you were singing in?
Yeah. And every week we'd be like, "Okay, this week we'll ask them, can we join?" And I'd be like, "No, I can't. Just can't. I can't do it. They're too good. I can't do it. And so this went on for a number of years, and we didn't actually...
we used to say hello to you, but you would never say.
Well, I'd be looking over my shoulder.
But you weren't part of the cohort that came to that event?
No.
So this is all, was that event later?
I never attended that charismatic meeting.
Oh, you didn't at all at that stage?
Absolutely not.
Because I came across a bit of footage in RTE where you're doing something, but you were in the crowd.
In the audience. Yeah.
And so,
years later.
But anyway, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you wanted to be, but you didn't connect. So then what happened to you regarding your faith and then connecting them with Emmaus and all that stuff?
Well, I think probably what happened was honestly, at 19, my dad had died very suddenly, 3 months before. And Louise, my friend, had been along to this music group in what turned out to be Ronan's house. And it just so happened that they were in need of another girl. And Louise goes, look, will you come down? Now, if anyone had told me it was a prayer meeting, I wouldn't have gone. Because in actual fact, at that stage, it wasn't. It was just very much a bunch of people getting together, doing a couple of songs. So I go down with Louise and kind of go, oh, actually, this is actually quite good. And there was very small, 5 sort of people there. And I suppose really it was the music that really attracted me. And then what used to kind of happen was, I suppose people were at various stages. Louise and I had never been exposed to anything charismatic, right? But then you'd sort of go, people were sort of at that stage of kind of doing exams, and people would kind of say, maybe, look, would you ever say a prayer, because doing exams, and that was all very normal. And then what sort of started to happen was there was a bit more prayer kind of happening. And then you sort of go, wait a second now, what they're talking about seems very familiar. But again, like the term charismatic was not in our vocabulary at all. And so it was kind of a slow sort of dawning of like, wait a minute. No. Well, that was the intention. Actually, that was what was quite funny. It wasn't supposed to be.
What I was about to say was that by the time I was 2 or 3 years at them, by this stage, the 1980s had started, and I was like, I can't take any more of this charismatic. It's too heady, it's too high, it's too up in the air. I get too depressed, I get too high, So I just left it and went away from it. But I was really immediately lonely, I was feeling the lack of God, of God's love, So I remember phoning the only 2 guys I knew, who were part of that thing, and one was Connor, who was being my best man, the other was Joe, who was another friend, and we went, okay, look, we'll get together, I'll have a bit of prayer, and we'll maybe sing a bit of music, no tongues.
Okay. Okay.
And we were literally like,
okay.
So we were, okay, that's what's going to happen. And we just did that. And very quickly, it was very comfortable. And the music really, there was definitely a feeling of something really special happening in these few songs we sang.
Is this mid-80s?
This is where you're
85.
85.
Yeah. So we just really needed it. And there's just 3 of us. And after a couple of weeks, we went, you probably could do with a couple of female voices. And Joe said, well, I know a couple of girls who probably like to do this. So he pulled Louise in the following week, and Louise pulled Joanne in the following week. So by week 4, there's 4 or 5 of us in, and we're just singing, and we're certainly not calling it a prayer group.
Okay.
We're just doing a bit of music, and we're doing a little bit of This Is Going to Be Fine, and we just kept doing a bit of music, and then every so often we throw a bit of a prayer in, because it felt like the thing to do. And
did it feel natural to you when they did it?
Yeah, I think it kind of did, because it was usually in the context of something very normal, like I said, like exams. People were coming up to their finals or various sort of stages, so it didn't feel kind of
pushy or anything.
No,
it was just
not at all. It felt very natural.
Okay.
And then the weird thing was, I remember one particular evening, and of the 2 of us, like Louise was very huggy, right?
Yeah.
And I really wasn't, right? And so I remember just getting this very overwhelming feeling at the end of it, going, I actually feel like I want to hug these people. And I was like, this is not me. And so I don't know what happened anyway. We ended up kind of, at the end of it, kind of everybody just sort of we made this beautiful sound together, and then it was like,
gorgeous.
Just a big hug now at the end. And something changed in the room then at that point, and you're like, oh.
Very close to that time as well. I remember we just, at one stage, it just burst into tongues one of the days.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh.
And was this freestyle worship?
Absolutely. Well, it wasn't.
Or the songs you knew you singing?
I wouldn't call it freestyle anything.
No.
We were just literally going, this is in C's, everybody got the words.
Yeah.
And it just started, it was like literally from the moment we'd open our mouths, the Holy Spirit would just fall.
And you've almost found your places, and you looked for that harmonies.
Yeah.
There was a lot of natural harmonizers there as well.
Yeah.
It was more the feeling of like the Holy Spirit just turned up. And that was part of the reason, and as I said, we burst into tongues, and I remember looking at Connor and going, we promised me that wouldn't happen, and then we would go. But anyway, we at one stage we used to call it group. We didn't even call it prayer group, just group.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have it on the same night. We would go, "Are you free next Tuesday? Are you good for Tuesday? Are you good for, this kind of stuff?" So, long story short, I'd say we were about 6 months in, and Connor said, "We should really call this something, shouldn't we?" And I remember thinking at this stage, definitely my faith is beginning to kind of really start to kind of come back on. I said, we should call it Emmaus, because those guys didn't know what they were doing.
on the road going. We don't know what direction.
They didn't know what was going on. And Jesus just showed up, and I said, "That's what happened to us." So that's why we called it Emmaus.
Oh, I did not know the story.
Yeah.
And when they burst into tongues, that was your first time hearing it?
Well, to me, it sounded like harmonies.
Oh, just when you thought they were doing?
Yeah, like Louise and I wouldn't have had a clue. It's like, oh, this is cool. I'll do that. You do that.
That's great.
You know, but I suppose it was just so spontaneous. It didn't, like, we didn't know it was a thing.
Yeah.
We didn't understand that there was something to fear.
Yeah.
You know,
it wasn't weird.
But it just felt totally natural. And you're like, oh, that sounds beautiful.
Oohs and ahs.
And no one's telling anyone what to do, and yet it's working.
And years later, when we were actually recording with the band, and I remember the record producer, Karen Kennedy, was like, and then do that tongues thing. That'll scare the hell out of me.
We've had so many weird experiences, man. Like wonderful ones, and then just like, that's backfired. Like my favourite, and I'm not going to mention names, but there was a time you guys were leading worship, and you had a friend who would come along. You were trying to bring him into the band because he was a
nice bass player.
Yeah.
And you all burst into tongues, but he thought it was jazz, free jazz.
He did.
And he started going bibbity boppity boo, bibbity boppity. He dragging it back and was going. And you all thinking she's all going, no, cut.
The individual you're talking about as well, he did an attention issue. Yeah. And I remember one stage, I used to do this with the band. I put my fingers on my eyes, like, watch me. So at one stage, he literally took his bass and he stood down off the stage and just stood straight in front of me and just gazed up into my face. Because he thought he was going to lose it if he didn't do that.
I love the humanity of all that.
Yes.
We're trying to fall our way forward.
And one of the lovely things, I mean, I would say, in terms of a renewed faith, and even from the beginning, one of the things that Joanne and myself have always had is the feeling that you're greatly loved, and it's possible for everybody. You don't have to do anything. It's just there. This love is available. And it's because for me at least, the experience, it was such an experiential thing. It wasn't a big theological experience. It wasn't a clever experience. It wasn't anything. It was just like literally something really powerful landing on you, like love landing on you. And as a result, it was the availability of God. And that's what I think most of my life I've been trying to say to people. It's available. It's there.
And I think the church had got itself into a state at that particular time in history. It was very much in its head, and the heart was kind of being left kind of out of the equation. So people were singing hallelujah, but there was no sense of happy or emotions, like get rid of them emotions.
Nothing going on below the neck.
And so people didn't know, because even up here with all this sort of ecumenical stuff, like if you think of all the charismatic in the Protestant world up here, it was all the Brethren Church, and they were very brilliant with the word and all that kind of stuff, but there were emotions again.
They were afraid of the emotions.
So I think they were suspicious.
So internationally, that it was like for the first time again internationally, the charismatic movement just went, you're allowed to feel. Do you know what I mean? But somehow, whatever was going on in the systems, they weren't facilitating the heart.
I mean, that great old evangelical A.W. Tozer, Aidan Tozer, said, "To worship is to feel in the heart." And it's like, and yet they were able to say that and say they believed it, but not act on that. So now it was very organic. You guys are doing that, and there's only a small group, 5 years at this stage. You come up with a name. And then you say. Well, it was like we were asked to do a school outreach. We did a school outreach, hadn't a clue what we were doing. Around the same time, my friend Tony, who I had attempted every single attempt to introduce him to this thing, and each time he was like, "Get away from me, that weird stuff." It had gotten to a stage that I knew I'd get about one chance a year. And the particular stage,
I thought he'd come to the original charismatic stuff, but he had
back in '97.
But then you were kind of burnt out from that.
Well, he just came once, and that was
that was it.
No,
that was enough.
Never coming back.
Oh wow!
So this is 7 years later. So I'm praying for him pretty much solidly for that 7 years. And he turned
up one night.
What happened was he basically we were in his kitchen, we were in his parents' kitchen, and I remember I was washing something at the sink, and he was sitting at the table behind me. And he said something, and you know that dawning feeling of, this is going towards, he's going to ask me the God question. And I literally got the hair stood up on my neck, because I was going, I'm going to mess this up now. I know I am. And I'm going, Lord, give me the words. I know what to say to this guy. Because every single time I say something, he just goes, he slams it shut, slams the door shut. And he was talking about something he was very frustrated about, and why God, and why that, and why would God let that? And I said, Tony, think about the thing that you dislike most about yourself. And Tony went, okay, got it.
Just that quick.
And I said, Jesus loves that.
Ah.
And he was like, whoa. He just, I could feel this behind him. And like, I literally, at this stage, my eyes are closed. And I could feel him behind me. And he's like, and he goes, I'm going to have to lie down on the floor. And he literally, he gets out from behind the table and lies on the floor of the kitchen. And I'm going, okay, what's the turnaround now? I don't know. And then he just stays there for about 30 seconds and he gets up and he goes, that thing you do on Sunday night, can I come to that? And I was like, yeah. Wow. Of course you can. End of conversation. Didn't say anything more. He turns up, I'm absolutely bricking it for the 4 days of the Sunday. Okay. And he comes on the Sunday night and I have my again playing the piano back to the room. I can't even look at him. I'm so nervous for him. You know, I was going, Lord, you're going to have to do something here. And Tony, after about a song and a half, just everything stops and Tony goes, Lord, I'm a sinful man. Wow. And that was it. Amazing moment. And it was an absolutely amazing moment for me because I had no idea that I'd actually been kind of a little bit careful about the way I kind of projected my Christianity. Myself and Tony were in a band that were playing regularly and like around the place and stuff. And Tony arrives into the next band rehearsal and he goes, "That's a fantastic news for you. Ronan's after converted me. And I'm giving my life to Jesus." Oh no! And I can see the rats going. And it suddenly occurred to me, I never told him. Yeah. So it really changed my life. Tony coming to the Lord changed my life.
He outed you, didn't he?
Tony outed me. Yeah. You know? Yeah. But anyway, that's all around that time. So we're still really like
okay. And that was that small group of the 5 years.
And then Tony would have added 6. Then
And I think it was the reading. I think what Louise and I found was we suddenly realised that a bit like you're saying about feeling. During the first Easter we were together, you ended up reading. You said, "Look, why don't we just go through the greatest story ever told?" And we're like, "Yeah, okay, let's go." So every night that week you would read a chapter of it, right? And it was so amazing because again, when you're being read something with feeling, you kind of go, "God, these words are really incredible," you know? And so there was something, that experience of going, actually, this is a very different expression of something that's actually deeply familiar. This God that has always loved me, I've always known his presence. Like as a child, you know, you'd be praying to your guardian angel or whatever it might be, or you were always taught in school that God loves you. But I think what had been missing up until that point was the whole idea, actually, wait a second, he actually loves me. Yeah. As opposed to this faceless, you know, body of people. Yeah. And that made a massive difference. And it was definitely around that time of Easter and doing that every week that there was a real kind of excitement and the whole experience of the living word. Now, Louise and I had none of the lingo, none of the language for it, but oh my goodness, we were really going, there is something really different going on here. You know, but about a year in then, it was just too much for me and I had to just take a year off.
Yeah, which is pretty much what happened to me.
It was too much.
So intense.
Yeah, it was so intense. It was like,
I don't know why, because we were not tense at all.
I don't know what happened there.
We were in houses trying to crack that, you know, intense. And
of course the songs were coming as well, because what happened was like Tony comes to the Lord and the first thing he does is he writes, "Who are you? You hold out your hand to me," like literally within a day. And then the following, and literally later that week, you know, "I know I will never be alone." Rejoice. Rejoice wrote that later that week as well. Just these two beautiful songs. That was just his response to
burst out of him.
You know? And very much with them personal encounters again. The mystical body became personal to you. And it's like, okay, oh wow, he's speaking to me in this. Yeah.
And even the desire that he'd want to be involved in your life. Do you know what I mean? Like that definitely was missing. You know, and so as you said, you know, I remember saying to you, like, you actually make this sound like it's possible. Like you don't have to have a personality bypass in order to, you know, explore this and to really allow yourself figure out, well, okay, so if I am loved, what does that mean? Yeah. You know, and allow yourself almost be, I suppose, not changed, but maybe helped become your real self. You know, because we all behave differently when we're loved. Do you know, when you're around people who love you, they absolutely bring out the best of you. You know, so it was always that. I think the real hallmark was always joy. You know, music and joy and that feeling of connection. And I suddenly kind of, right, so there's a lot more available to us.
And you're 19, 20?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you.
I was 19.
I'm now maybe 21, 22 by this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like 14, 15, because I don't meet you till 91, 2.
Yeah.
I meet you guys.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. And so that's firing off for yous. And it seemed to get... Then you also got bigger, and then it was ecumenical. What happened?
Actually, it was ecumenical from the
really
beginning.
From the beginning.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, there was always a mix of people. There was a mix of denominations right through. There was only a few people.
Okay.
And that's like, we live in the Bible Belt in Dunleary, you know, that's kind of, it's a real mix. Like on my street, there was always a mix.
Yeah, mine too.
You know, and same with yours. So there was always a mix. And we never went out. And in fact, I remember going, well, look, that's just who the Lord's brought us. So it wasn't even kind of, we didn't have to decide on anything. It wasn't.
We're drawing lines here.
Again, it was just natural.
We were just doing what we had. My sister Kira joined, and you know, there were a bunch of other people came around at the same time, and Ray and the rest. And then what happened is I would come in. I remember sitting in the church. I popped into the church locally and just sat down, and I heard the words "trust, surrender, receive, believe." In that order, and I went, that sounds important, and I wrote it down. And then that evening I went, look, I've got this, and I don't know, maybe we should do a kind of a Taizé type thing with it. So I just got them singing, and then I sang this thing across the top of it, and then like, oh, that sounds like a song. Maybe we could get that done. And then, but there was a lot of that going on. It was really experimental. It was really like, we don't know what this is. And I remember Tony saying to me, we should really because we'd been recording a lot with the band. Yeah, we should probably get this stuff down, you know. And the guy who was the producer with the band just went, I'll record it for you. And it turned out he was very sensitive. Even though he wasn't big on faith himself, he was very sensitive to what we were doing.
You could hear the heart of it. Yeah. What the message of it was.
So we did a beautiful job recording it and just did a really nice thing, you know? Yeah. And that was that first album, which we, as I said to you earlier on, we wouldn't even call it an album because we were too embarrassed to say, you know, I mean, I was playing professionally, like touring with the Black Velvet Band, and, you know, I didn't want to kind of make it sound like we were, you know, a big professional. We weren't. We were like a lot of messers who were just throwing out songs. Yeah. But it was like something special happened there, you know, it really did. And
you were given, you were also given permission for people to pray with their heart, I think, too. Because even when you were saying in that particular song, Trust, Surrender, I give my life for you. And I remember hearing that for the first time. And here, I feel like Jesus is singing from the cross to me, trust. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, I love that picture.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't expecting that.
Yes.
So it's that sheer raw vulnerability, isn't it? Yeah. And so people are always, what's that prophetic? When Paul says, when you prophesy, and I'm not talking about future telling, I'm talking about truth telling. Yeah. When you tell the truth about our own humanity or brokenness, people then go, what's that? Excuse me? That wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Yeah. That I hear that in my heart. Yes. Kind of thing.
Resonate something, So
you were definitely germinating that kind of, the Holy Spirit was just working in that way with you all.
Yeah. I mean, Niall, I could not explain to you how close you were. Yeah. I couldn't.
Good. You know, probably went onto your head.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I think it was a mercy not to know.
Teaching afterwards, but we very much theologized it post fact. You know, it's like as though, you know, I remember actually there was a priest around called Father John McGeady, and somebody said to him like, where are these people getting their theology from? They're standing up at the front and they're saying stuff, and it's theologically sound. Where did they learn that theology? And he went, they live in the body of Christ. Is what he said, because we weren't learning. I can tell you, we weren't learning any theology from anywhere.
Yeah, and her heart. I mean, because all of it's, I love you, I love your son, I love your child, I love your daughter, and you're hearing this. No, I don't know. Nobody you don't know me. There's that resistance. Yeah. You love them, as you're saying. We're not going in here.
No. We're not going in here. So actually, you really picked up on the vulnerability thing, because I think vulnerability was something that we weren't expecting. No. Yeah. But it came. It really did. Yeah. It was really big on, you know. Yeah,
and I found that totally engaging when I encountered you all. I went, this makes sense to me. Okay. And I loved the creativity, and it sounded less folk than I was used to. Right. You know, because folk was like the radical 70s, but I felt like, no, this feels like it's in a different generation. Yeah.
And I suppose we were fans of music, you know, and you're listening to something new, and you're like, oh, can we do something that sounds like that?
Yeah.
How to get that bass drum, how to get that kick.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I remember we the second album, all I'd been doing was listen to Ed Hawkins and Happy Day and old stuff from the 1930s. And I was like, I just wanted that second album to sound like there was one microphone in the middle of a room and it was recording everything live. And we did our best. We couldn't, we weren't able to get it to sound like that. But we did our best. But by the time the third album came around, we were like, okay, let's just do a proper.
Yeah.
Right. I want to give some people some more context because this is all going obviously in our faith context. But your careers were kind of interesting. You kind of started a month. Well, even before that happened, how did you connect before getting into your career? Or did your careers happen before?
No. Well, I was on the telly, but that was neither here nor there. I just happened to be on the telly presenting the program.
That can be helpful for a young lady, no?
No.
Is he saying no?
No.
You had more wit than that?
Yeah, no.
Between 86 and 90.
No, I was never joining that.
I was presenting. Oh, that was difficult. I didn't enjoy the process of being famous at all.
Okay, so before you get to that RT, did you connect? When did you start out? Was it while you were still? Were you working on RT then?
Yes, yeah. I've one little tiny story to tell you about RT, right, in order to explain Emmaus.
Brilliant.
I was, as I said, at sea. Hadn't been involved. Was really lonely for God, and I was, but not doing anything about it. And I got a job on the switchboard in RT answering telephones, and this very, very old lady who happened to be just almost at retirement age just came up to me and said, "Do you know, Ronan, do you know what you would love now?" It's a colleague of mine.
Wow.
And I said, "What?" And she says, "You know, in RT we have like a prayer meeting every Tuesday."
RT did?
And I was, well, and it was, she couldn't have known what she was saying.
Oh,
I mean, it was just like she was knocking on a door that was like ready to be kicked open.
All right.
And I said, "Yeah, great. Yeah, I'll come." And I think she was nearly more surprised at me. And I said, "Great, yeah, I'll see you there. What time?"
A young person said yes.
Yeah, finished 5:30. My shift, 5:45. We went in. There were 4 people sitting there, and I just sat there and we had it was an hour-long meeting. We sang Majesty for about half of it, and then we basically did a little bit of praying. And then at the very end, and we were going home, and the guy Patter, who was like looking after, went, "Ronan, would you like some prayer?" And I went, "Yeah, absolutely." Prayed over me, and this happened every week for about 16 weeks. 16 weeks, and then it was at the 16th week that I went. And
that loneliness, isolation, you're being seen again.
Yeah.
I'm not isolated.
And then after the 16th week, I phoned Connor. And that was when. So that was to give context to what was going on there.
Okay, so that's on your work while this prayer meeting still happening. These things are kind of going on.
So by the time I got to kind of a year in RT, I was already on the telly, and I was, weighing up.
And just for person, what was the name of the program you were?
It was called Borderline. So it was started on Saturday mornings, and it was a big Saturday morning thing, and then it went to Tuesday evenings, and kind of was like a kind of a late night.
I'm like a youth format program, wasn't it?
Absolutely, youth format program. And then I did a program called Scratch Saturday, which was on Saturday mornings again, and then basically I was on the Den. So basically, I was.
Well, I'll ask about Den because I've funny stories about that.
Yeah.
So the. I can't explain Zig and Zag there are Rose this morning. There were these student Muppets. You need to
exactly what Rose was saying. They were all in art college, and Tony was involved in the TV end, and they went to the art section and went, "They said, could you just do us a few puppets? We need to make a TV program." And the 2 boys just made them, and they were like, wow, they're really good, those 2.
And they were good at heckling and making it. So the banter was great. So okay, so hold on. So that's happening. You're having encounters even at work. You're running the people in the work format. Like obviously, Ireland, you can't go anywhere, and God's not somewhere in the midst of it all yet. So we're hitting the 80s. Coming up the back end of the 80s now, then probably coming close.
Yeah, we are. We had, I suppose, what you would have called kind of unresolved issues between the 2 of us, because we kind of, I certainly fancied Joanne from the first moment I met her, and it was just like nothing ever seemed to, the timing was never right. And then I was going out with somebody, she was going out with somebody.
That went on for 5 years.
It went on for 5 years. And it was just like so frustrating. And eventually, kind of at the very end of 89, we went, look, if this is going to happen. And I remember having this very a sober conversation that lasted seconds, but it was like, you do realise if we do go out with each other, everyone's going to have an opinion about this, because everyone at this point had a very powerful opinion about what's going to happen. And
you had gone out for a bit at one stage? No, so it's all kind of just okay. So okay, right?
No. I mean, like we were saying, everything was a mess.
Yeah.
Like when you get into a bunch of friends, everybody was in love with somebody else who wasn't in love with them. No, but it was all unrequited. So everyone was all over the shop.
Oh, right.
You'd be in love with somebody who was actually in love with somebody else.
Yeah, we had a couple of moments, like kind of in around 87, when something probably would have happened. We were so involved with other people that it didn't. So eventually, anyway, long story short, we went, okay. And the weirdest thing was,
I actually had a well, before that, I was a spiritual director, and I just kind of brought this to her, and eventually, because she had sort of said to me at one point, she said, look, why don't you take a year of being single? Right. And I was like, yeah, okay, I think that's a great idea. So I did that. I had the best year of my single life. Yeah. And then I came back to her at the end and I said, look, I don't like this, but I still have feelings for this guy. Yeah. And, and she said, well, sure, look, why don't you just tell him? Yeah. So I was like, do you know what? I will, and I can just move on with my life. Ha.
Sure, you would relate.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So I eventually just sort of said, look, look, here's the deal. This is how I feel. And it's been going on for a while. It doesn't seem to go away, but I just thought I'd tell you. And no, I don't expect anything in return. And literally the moment I had that conversation with you in December of 89, the doorbell rang.
Stephen's night.
Okay. Yeah. And Ronan was with the Black Velvet Band at the time. The doorbell rang and Kieran Kennedy comes to the door to take him off go down to Cork, right? So I remember just leaving. No, there was no discussion. And I went home feeling, well, great, I've said it now. That's it. I can move on with my life. And then what actually happened was we had a further conversation when you returned. Yeah. And then you'd sort of said, well, look, now if we do go out, it's probably going to be pretty serious.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. So my one of the first people in my class, this was early 1990. Yeah. March of 1990. Actually, the 3rd of March is the day that Emmaus started, right? Yeah. 85. 5 years
before. Yeah. 1st of May when?
3rd of March, 1985 was our first. And so a friend of mine happened to be getting married on this particular day, one of my pals from school, and I just said to her, do you want to come with me? Yeah. And so that was it. And that was it.
Like it literally was like, we kept looking at each other going, this is nice, isn't it?
Yeah, this is really easy.
And it was so easy. And we were married by that November.
Yeah.
Was that 89 and 90 married?
90, yeah. 90,
we our first date was the 3rd of March and we were married by November.
Yeah. Okay, I know them. There's them pivotal moments when you go, I've seen enough of the world. I know myself a bit more.
Yeah.
If I'm going to get serious, what am I getting serious about? Anybody going that direction?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And actually, so easy. I mean, it wasn't without its complications. As I said, there were people within the group that had strong feelings. Yeah. But we did get married on the 17th of November, and it was like.
Yeah, no, it was really good. And actually it was quite funny because we had sung at a friend's wedding in May, and it was after that wedding that you sort of said to me, look, will you marry me? And I genuinely thought he was joking. So I said, yeah, will you marry me back? So off I go the next day.
Very serious.
No, he's such a messer. And I thought, yeah. And then I went on holidays again with my friend Louise. The next day went off to Cyprus for 2 weeks. I didn't even say anything to her because I thought it was a joke.
All right.
And then that evening you came and picked us up from the airport and we were, chatting later that evening and you were talking about our decision to get married and I was like, what?
All right, you were serious? And you'd already heard it like, she said yes.
Yeah, I was like, what? I'm like, oh, okay then. Yeah. So we kept it really short. We kind of got engaged on my dad's birthday to include him in some way. 4th of July. And then we were married in November.
Yep.
Wow.
And it was just, and all the time it was just that feeling of like, oh my goodness, this was just so easy and so like feeling like coming home.
And you knew each other for 4 or 5 years at that stage,
very intensely, but it was,
because it was really, we actually are good friends.
Yes.
Oh,
big time.
That makes sense.
Yes. And there really wasn't any doubt.
Yeah.
No. It was just one of those really extraordinary moments to go, yeah. And then I think very much an experience of going, do you know what? This actually was God's plan for us. And to sort of go, actually, he really knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And he'd really kind of, so there was a real feeling of grace and ease and like, okay.
And the amazing thing was that particular year, what was the prayer group turned into a community.
Yeah.
In the September of 1990.
And And at that stage, how did you get exposed to the idea of a community versus a program? Because there's a big difference.
Yeah. So basically what happened was Joe McGeady had always said to us, you're a community.
Yeah.
From the very early stages, this is a community. Now, his idea of what a community was, and say, for instance, you know, some of the Covenant communities that were knocking around at the time were very, very different. Yeah. Like Joe was like, you can have community with people on the phone. You know, you can have community. You know, as long as you share some life together. You know, and as long as you prepare. So he did a lot of groundwork with us. But then we did go and we looked at YWAM and we looked at, you know, the Covenant community that was the kind of the sword shape. Well, it didn't suit us at all, but like, it was there, and we got a lot of help from them, to be honest. And then we looked at some of the other little kind of disparate groups, like that were trying to start community in Britain at the time, like the Upper Room and Cornluman and various people. None of them really kind of had, like Cornluman weren't even called Cornluman at that stage. Cornluman Christie, you know, but they were all kind of roughly the same ages.
How did you run into them? Oh, because people were talking about the different groups out there.
Yeah, and actually Rob was really the main reason. Rob Clark in YWAM was pulling people in because he was trying to do stuff which was like both evangelical and Catholic at the same time. Yeah. That's right. And he was trying to pull in people from all around the place, and he
those leadership courses.
Charles Whitehead and introduced all these great people. And we just, and you know, the minute we met like the Upper Room guys, we were like, we feel these guys.
Yeah, they were like a sister
community. Sheila and
Dave Payne.
Yes.
And, you know, and then we had a fair bit of input from a lot of help from some of the kind of vineyard guys in Anaheim and all those guys.
Because they were out in South Dublin somewhere, weren't they?
Yeah, well, not at that stage. They hadn't started because basically Rathfarnham Prayer Group, who were also kind of a sister prayer group. But what happened was Wimber came in 86 and then again in 87, and they really went, this is the direction we want to go. But we got a lot of help from those guys as well.
Yeah, they were great.
Yeah, because they had worked out that whole kingship thing. How do you grow a community at different scales, different sizes?
Young Cho,
100,
1,000. Yeah, they were big into Young Cho, actually.
That's right.
The cell group stuff, you know, and that was very big in the 80s, you know.
Yeah.
So it was really, but it was all technical. We anytime we tried to be too technical with it, it didn't work.
Yeah,
you know?
because your heart wasn't. Wasn't feeding it.
And like clearly, anytime we tried to do anything that was a little bit like sword, it wasn't working either. So actually, we got a good bit of help just to be ourselves, just do our own thing. And we started with 10. And we made sure that it was even in terms of 5 guys, 5 girls, and denominationally it was bang up the middle, though that wasn't our thing as well. And then by the second year there was 20 of us, and by the third year there was 30 of us. So basically, by the time we had run its course 20 years on, there was about 100 adults, you know.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think when you encountered. So at that stage, is that when you were exploring the communities and ideas and you run into your community? Is that because you probably, did you say you were involved with this Michael's mission originally? Yeah. I didn't realize. I knew why. You were involved with the Red Dead. You're connected to why.
I was there with yourself and Rob and Neil Dunn and Joe and Sean, both from Farnham. No. But we were there that weekend before.
No, we don't call it Joe.
Do you want to come back up next weekend? We're doing a mission. We were like, yeah, fine. So I was just there by accident, really.
She was there for the first mission night with Father Ed and all that crazy. That's wild. I didn't realize. I didn't. Because I was obviously when I came back to my faith.
I know.
I came in. He's raw. The worship was brilliant.
But the funny thing is, I remember you.
Do you?
Yeah.
I remember petrified.
Yeah.
Because Jim Keenan brought me. I didn't want to go. I stopped going to church, and then Jim said, "I don't want to go down by myself, but I'm interested to hear what you're saying."
Yeah.
And I remember Jim. I remember Deirdre. I don't remember Debbie though. Right. No. It's only the way certain places jump out at you, you know.
Well, I get in, and then when everybody stood up, sort of clapping and praising, and they were really going for all the community ones were going for it, I was petrified. I thought, these guys believe God's in the house.
I know.
And I tried to get out the back door, and they locked the side door. I came in, and did the walk of shame back.
Oh no!
Stay now.
And I just laughed. I didn't laugh. And I went, "Oh, let's can't get out." I said, "We'll go out." And I'm not going past them. I'm not going past them. I've been so insecure, right? And
I have to say, because it was Community of the King at the time, so people like Paul Kyle, John, Des Dick, they were all very helpful, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I could see it wasn't a good fit for us, but they gave us tons of really good, useful information.
Yeah, there seemed to be a friendship there and a slight boundary, but a good one. Wasn't a boundary of just like, I don't think the culture's different here.
Yeah,
we're doing different things.
There was no problem at all. Like, I mean, they were really, really helpful.
Yeah.
Gave us an awful lot and really generously gave, you know, like Father Cyril and like, you know, really all good guys, you know. And then basically, because we were, you know, interdenominational, there were, you know, Philip Agnew down in Methodist in Dunleary and Earl Story and like, people were just, you know, like, you know, so amazing. Like the amount of input we had and it was real wisdom, you know.
Is that Earl who's Pat's?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That connection.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
So that's exactly him.
Yeah.
You know, really, really great help, you know.
So from a personal, so when did Ray, the Eakinses and Anna and all them guys come in?
Ray arrived
He was
kind of around
first year.
86, 87.
Yeah.
And they were part of it. They were, there was a particular group called the Verbum Dei. Himself and Ger and Judy Little and a few others came in all together. Anna, tell you how Anna happened.
I do, because I don't know this.
Anna's about 18, right? And painfully shy, but he plays a low whistle, right? The old Irish low whistle. Yeah. And we've at this stage, part of our outreach is just basically singing a folk mass in the local church. Yeah. We'd started doing it again, and this is kind of like the end of the 80s. Yeah. We're just doing it just to, you know, because we can
serve the church.
Serve the church. We can make music. We're reasonably good at it, so we'll just do it, you know. And it makes them feel like we're doing something useful. Anna's mum comes up and goes, Can my son join you?
Really?
Yeah. We're like, yeah, send him on, you know. And Anna just comes in, and really from the get-go, we were just kind of getting on like a house on fire. Now he is a good 6 years younger, but you know, than I was. But he just tagged along, and then I remember about a year and a half in, he just said, I've got something I want you to hear. And he had an SY-77 Yamaha keyboard, which had its own sequencer on it. He presses play and he did this entire thing, which is like a song and a rap together that he'd written. And I was like, hey, seriously, man. Yeah. What is going on here? And he says, no, I've just been writing this, just wanted to do what you and Tony did. And he was still a kid, like, you know. Yeah. Then, but like within a very short space of time, he was
very talented kid.
Yeah.
Taking over, man.
Yeah.
Right stuff.
Yeah.
And I did not know that. So for some reason, I just thought he was playing organ in the church, and you met him or something like that.
And he was actually playing organ in another church.
Yeah,
but that was part of his gig. But he was just really.
That's nice. Again, your community was very open-hearted to people just plopping in and feeling loved. Yeah, so that was great.
And because we had that kind of slightly loose. Yeah. Musically even. It was like, come on, just play.
Yeah. Don't have to be rigid.
This isn't C, you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. We were very like that, as opposed to, there'd be other places be like, did you see they were playing C? Like I played a C diminished and it should have been a C augmented. Can you believe it? You're never like that, you know?
Yeah, it was over prescriptive, but would have kind of people would have found them and lines too much. Yeah.
I think we ended up attracting a lot of artistic, creative types, sensitive types.
And that's what got my attention. I go, how come you're attracting so many artists? PFC, we're doing it up here. And we obviously, Paul Kag and all them was different. There was a lot, obviously the arts were being a massive part of the renewal.
Yes.
Because again, that heart language and the spirit were very much tied together, you know? Yeah. So, and you were doing that. So because I came in 92. Yes. It's like, in the 91, September 91, I did my DTS. Okay. Yeah. In 92. So I didn't realise you were part of the St. Michael's thing then, but there must have been some connection before then. Probably the camp. Did we do a camp in 90? I can't remember. It was a camp where Rob was doing something.
The Go camp.
Yeah, I think I might have came down to that.
I'm sure I knew. I mean, I knew you. The minute I saw you, I knew where I knew you from.
Yeah. Showing up my bicycle shorts as campus could be, with bleached white hair, and so it was fun. So okay. So
that was we did the second album, which is basically, as I said, that was
actually we recorded that the week before we got married.
So that was literally 89 was the first album. Then 91 we did the second album, and then by that stage we had about 4 bands in the community. Like the community had 30 people, and there's about 4 bands in it. Yeah. So I remember thinking to myself, what is the third album going to sound like? Jeepers, you know? And I remember just going in my head when I was a child and growing up in the 70s. There used to be a kind of a record company called K-Tel, and they used to have the top 40. Now there'd be slightly shortened versions of the songs, but they were the actual songs. And I thought this is going to be like a K-Tel album. like now that's what I call music. Now that's what I call Christian music. You know, and we just went, okay, well, look, let's see if I can facilitate. You know, Joshua's trumpet did a song, Rock did a song, you know, Little Black Train did a song, and then we had stuff that just like Michael Doyle had written a song, and I was like, how do I get this to sound like everything else? So we did. I just did it vocally and just tried to do a few things. So it was really...
That was Across the River album, was it?
Yeah, Across the River, yeah.
My claim to fame, I never made it onto the album cover, but I wasn't...
With your hands?
I was a hand model with Greg. When Paul Carroll was here, we were all sitting in the waterfall, but Greg's hands ended up mine didn't end it.
No.
But I was there posing with my hand. I was a hand model, so I'm just saying I had a moment there.
The Lord knows what that was.
The Lord sees the heart.
He saw you.
So, and yeah, that's when I got your first album, because I think I was just eating the sounds. It was probably Ian White. That's all I had for music at the time. And that was fine, you know, Philippine, all that. But then I heard your first album, and I went, oh, that's lovely. What's that? Do you know what I mean?
Beautiful.
And so I love that.
I mean, we're in edified company there with Ian White, because
indeed, it's beautiful.
Silas and Paul.
Yeah.
Love that.
Absolutely great.
So.
So
and that'd be Mark Lanahan, Silas and Paul.
He does his own lovely.
Yeah.
It was a nice kind of riff on it.
Yeah. But we used to love working with Mark, because Mark used to rewrite songs. With great abandon and it was natural.
Oh, it's terrific. Changing the words for comedy.
For comedy purposes. Yes. Natural, creative. Mark was, and what a voice he had as well.
Beautiful.
I remember just sitting around a fire just before like one of the New Dawn conferences. Doing outreach.
Mark meet you? Where did you meet first?
Desi pulled it. Because Desi had met him out at Medjugorje.
Oh, Medjugorje.
Right? So Desi and Mark were in Medjugorje heads, and he went, look, we used to run the kids ministry in
New Dawn
in Walsingham. So he just brought him along one night, and he just sang. Do you know what he sang? He said,
so beautiful.
And I remember
gotta get him to sing for you sometime.
It's just like it'd make you cry.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
He's such a beautiful singer.
He's
such soul in it. But that man, and he would just tell people his story, and they were like, just
and everything's still happening. When he's telling that story, like the ceasefire hadn't that happened.
No,
do you know what I mean?
It absolutely was years before the ceasefire.
Such a radical thing.
This is 1991, 92. I mean, it was just like
like I remember hearing about ceasefire. I mean, I heard it in my one time ago. Apparently, the Sinn Féin and all these guys all stopped in the ceasefire and went, I don't think so.
Yeah.
They have? What?
Yeah.
I mean, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, and of course, by that stage, we were up and down from here.
Yeah, we were up and down a lot.
Yeah.
We were up and down the whole time. Like, literally from 88. So I'm doing the Michaels thing. I just love being up here in the north, you know?
Yeah.
I call it that.
No, absolutely. No. That's an ecumenical matter. But
Father.
So okay, so that's where Mark came in and New Dawn and Walton.
Yeah.
And was that just the beginning of New Dawn? Had that only...
No, New Dawn was 87, 88. And myself and Larry and Des were there from then. But we just had basically kind of been in and out. So from about 91 onwards, we were like full, we were going gangbusters at it. And we were bringing 16, 18, 20 people out
from Ireland,
and like busloads of people. I mean, the team. I don't mean like we were bringing people to participate. We were bringing team. Like it was just hilarious.
So this was the whole Emmaus Community kind of
thing,
was it?
Yeah.
And like sure, we'd have a Y-man with us as well.
And again, just absolute fun and joy, and just again that hallmark of Holy Spirit's here.
Yeah. Best fun.
Yeah, no, it was totally contagious. Like stuff we know, like all the stuff we did in Grafton Street or on Collins Street,
exactly.
Some street stuff.
Yeah.
From a lot of us come from Catholic background, we'd never done that kind of thing.
No, I mean,
but our evangelicals were done. We're going, okay, how do we make this so it's normal, natural? And we were a lot more zany, a lot more weird. And it wasn't sort of very.
Well, I think that was the beauty of it. Like when you had the ecumenical thing, there were certainly people trying to do street outreach who was very serious, and then over here people who've never done street outreach, but they weren't serious at all. They were really like able to bring something that was it was really, really very interesting dynamic and very creative. It created this this liminal space that had never been occupied before, and suddenly it was just pinging with ideas, and it was just such an exciting time.
And I suppose on one level we were having fun, but people were obviously watching it and saying, how come they're walking in attention but not actually feeding attention. They seem to be enjoying themselves.
Yes.
We're all dealing with political issues here. These guys are going, we're just trying to find a way to love each other in this.
Yes.
Well, it's not the thing. As Christians love one another, and it's like, and we're not realizing that that's what they're seeing, because we think we're doing an outreach. I'm playing a gig here, you know, and what they're seeing is something about the relationship we're having with each other.
Yeah.
We're not even noticing that. That because that's God's work. It's not ours.
Totally.
Something beautiful about that, you know, something shiny about that.
No, Cross River was great. And I just bring up some of these things because it's just good to have a record of them a little bit. And then, so you had, as I said, you had about 4 bands. You had the Emmaus Community Band. And
which was like a herd of elephants on the stage.
Yeah.
It was just like 20 million people on the stage, you know, it's just like...
When I'm showing you community meetings, in it'll be lying under a piano or something singing there. On one side, there's a lovely hippie vibe about it in some ways. And it was cool, but because it was like, be yourself, just whatever.
Just whatever.
As you are.
I mean, not that we ever aimed at being hippies, but I think we probably were.
I don't think we ever aimed at anything.
No, it was, as I said...
it was just accidental, kind of stumbling on things.
But the weird thing was that at that point, I suppose what we'd done is we'd managed to, like, the first album was lovely but innocent and naive, and the second album was an attempt to try and make something sound like 1930s gospel, and white and not 1930s. So it did good songs, but didn't quite. The third one suddenly sounded like something, you know, and I was starting to pull in Kieran Kennedy and people who, like, proper, really professional people to play, and it was starting to sound like an actual proper album. Bits of it, not the whole lot, but bits of it. Beginning. And now there are people like calling from the States and going, would you be interested in, you know...
But you great tracks, don't you? Damien singing that very high pitch, it's beautiful.
Precious Love.
And that was like a strong song in the middle of that album.
And we did that. And you know how we did we were talking about drum machines earlier on. We actually sampled, Dave McCune had this long plank of wood, and he says, listen to this. And he comes up and he goes, like with that's part of the thing. And I went, that's amazing.
That's a tom drum there.
So we just sampled it, and he just... And that piece, see, that's what the kick was on that, because it sounds huge. It's like a big 808 or something, just you know. So anyway, that's what it was. But then we had the people calling from the States, and we started to streamline the band, and we started going and we were able to nick Lynn from the Crystal River, and we were able to nick Julian from Joshua's trumpet, and you know, suddenly it was beginning to Greg and Tony, obviously from Little Back Train, and suddenly we were starting to kind of like 8 people, and Owen Heaslip, of course, on drums.
Super drummer.
He was a great drummer. Great drummer.
But you also had Ian somewhere along the line.
Ian came in later.
That's what it was,
So once Owen went, Ian came, and we had such a time trying to audition drummers. But Ian arrives in, and he's got this huge, like, he looks like Taz. You know, the Tasmanian dust devil. He comes in, and he sat in behind. He was like twice the size of the kit, and he sat down and going... he starts like he used to break cymbals. He was so strong, he would break cymbals.
He's full in. It's unbelievable.
But anyway, long story short, then we were into kind of record company stuff, and that was a whole other level for the next stage. But then we were on.
And that was great because you more or less just had your own label. You were your own label at that stage, and so you were just working with what we have.
That was, but there was a bit of money, and that meant that, like, when we did the kind of
tour.
Sorry, the one afterwards, which is Weight of the World, and all over the world, and all that there was actual proper money for the recordings and stuff, so it sounded like something better, you know. So the kind of the internal the internal professional musician in me was pleased with that. But I don't know whether. And hopefully the community was reflected well as well.
Well, you and I were saying last night when we were talking about when Brian Houston had mentioned on that wee video clip about what's going on with some of the modern music that is sometimes it's not facilitating the spirit moving like that. I said, but most of them sometimes aren't in tight-knit communities where they're working out relationships at a deep level and trying to work out, and it comes out in the music somewhere, whether it's vulnerability, whether it's brokenness, and then people who are part of all that going, that's all of us, isn't it? And then there's a journey with that. Sometimes it's just like, if it's all just professional and no relational connection to
I think that's a really good insight.
I'm just emptying that. So, okay, so community became powerful as it does, and I'm thinking about, like in retrospect, we can look back and see some of us and all these. I'm dyslexic, ADHD, and there's all sorts of ones of us all get all sorts of learning ways of coping.
Our community was absolutely full of neurodiverse people.
Yeah. We didn't know
we now realize we're both therapists now, so we now understand.
Yeah.
And so you look back, that's what was going on. Okay. We didn't know sometimes, but again, they didn't. You talk about playrooms and all these things for young people, and so it's one thing we were keeping communities that were allowing people to play and explore and grow and mature in a sense.
So it was Joanne caught it like at one stage. She was like, "Oh, that is probably on the spectrum."
So and that's bringing us to insights and wisdom as you journey on, looking back now. So so them communities were great. People were coming in. I was down. For the 4 or 5 years I was down, so I was nipping in and out of your meetings, nipping forward sometimes, and often missions back and forth. So there was a lot of interaction there. And how many albums at the end have you done at this stage?
I think the last time I counted them was 14 or 15. Remember? Was the funny thing is that like we've just continued to just. Like and actually interestingly, what is it? It's you have a song. The song is these days it's a worship song. If it takes off in the room when we're worshiping, then I decide let's record it. It's very rare that So this time, what happened was for the the most recent album, which will be called Awaken, and that's basically Tony came over, in 2019, the year before COVID, and he just said, "Look, I just want to I've written because he'd been living in England for years and he hadn't been around, and I've been writing loads of songs. I need to get them down." And I said, "No problem." So we got Anna playing guitar, Julian playing bass. We didn't have a drummer, and I was playing keys, and Tony was there with his guitar. We just set everybody to play live, and I was about to do a click. He went, "No click. Don't want to click. Don't want anything in time. I just want to play it. No problem. That's fine." And he said, "This is just demos, just demos, just hit record," and we just recorded for a day, and we got 12, 15 songs down. It's great.
Nice.
What we didn't realise was that within 12 months, Tony was going to get motor neuron disease. So actually, when we went to try and record a year after that, Tony's voice is like this. It wasn't there anymore. And I remember we got to thinking, we'd recorded and tried to record them properly. And then suddenly I went, you know what? I remember something in Logic where it listens to the track that's been recorded without a click. And it just through AI, it figures out, okay, that's a bar. So that bar's in 117 beats per minute. That's 118. That's back down to 115. And we literally did that, and then sucked all the stuff that we just recorded into his vocal, and it just played. And it was like, it was like an absolute miracle. Where we were literally able to take stuff that we'd recorded and then just put it straight onto that, including drums. So the album really is that, the album is those 2019 sessions. The reason it's taken so long is because AI is all very well, but it still needs a bit of tweaking.
It can be very too generic sometimes.
So you're working to try and, but so we've done 3, like the album will be the album, but we've done 3 kind of extended phases.
And that's going to be coming out when it's done.
But the EPs are out now.
They've been released in 4s.
3, the 3.
So I think it's back a wee bit, because at the start, we're all young communities at the start. None of us had any families or any of that kind of stuff. A lot of free time, a lot of time to explore and be creative and make lots of wonderful mistakes and brilliant successes, all that good stuff, And then I suppose we ones starting to creep in, families started to grow, people were, and then it changes the dynamic a lot.
Already.
From, okay, we've got other commitments now and the pressures of that work, and then Dublin just hit the Celtic Tiger, which just was changing the whole dynamic of the whole city in a ways that was phenomenal. Because I remember Americans coming in going, I've heard of the first world and the third world in the early 90s, 80s. But it was parts of Dublin, I felt like, this feels like a second world. It's not quite there, but it's somewhere in the middle. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, you've seen all this stuff happening around the keys and go, what's that? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So there was a lot of going on economically in the country. And then spiritually, obviously, all the scandals were coming out across the whole church and stuff. We're all having young families and stuff. What was that because that's a lot of transition in there. What was that like, that period?
Well, I suppose personally it was very difficult because we weren't having children, and that was very difficult. So we had 12 years of, infertility, and that really carved us out personally, and to kind of, try and line up your faith with this and what does that mean, and, all of that. So it did very much change, I think it changed us, but it also changed, we were like Ireland getting all that money, the Celtic Tiger coming in was like handing loads of cash to a teenager. Yeah. And because even, from a cultural point of view, we weren't used to having money. So I think it kind of ruined people a little bit. On the one hand, there was a bit of an ease. Yeah. So people would feel like, yeah, should just get that or buy this or do whatever. But I think with it as well, we lost some of ourselves. So there wasn't really a spiritual need now because you could meet all that. You could buy your way out of things. You could, have more holidays, do all of that. And I think it created a bit of numbness spiritually in people's lives, and you kind of go, and then I think too, a lot of people will say, and now we know, thankfully, because, after 12 years, we were able to adopt our beautiful boy, Nisha, from Guatemala, followed 3 years later by Shun. But you realise then when you are parenting, it does actually take up a lot of time and energy, and the energy that you would have had to go out and do things and, do outreaches and do all of that, that's kind of subsumed. And obviously it's really important that you do that, because I think we never wanted to be the family that was so into the ministry that the children were very secondary to that. Yeah.
We had people,
we'd adults that we knew that it had suffered in that. So we were always like, want to make sure that doesn't happen. But then there's a natural fall off of people being available. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it meant then that it was a smaller and smaller group of us who were actually available to do these things. Yeah. And then that comes with a cost as well. Yeah. You can get kind of a little bit exhausted from it.
And actually, rather weirdly, at around the same time, we were experiencing this and going, what do we do? What's supposed to happen next? And we went to Graham Cook, who was like, I remember Graham, done a tremendous book on prophecy, and he'd given us some interesting prophecies himself, actually, over time. We asked him to come and kind of just come and do a little bit of mentoring with the community, and his kind of word for us was that what we should do is we should have basically like draw a line and go, okay, the work is done, and the work as we've been asked to. We're 20 years in, the work is done. What we were asked to do, and we were to finish it, have a funeral. Make sure it was clean, make sure everyone was looked after, make sure all the relationships were good, make sure there was no kind of weird angst. So we took 2 years to do that. And then basically, we were to sit and wait. And then almost immediately after that, Damien, another friend of ours, got a picture of like an old stone, like the old fields in the west of Ireland, where they're small fields, but they've got all the stone walls around them. And basically we were all there, the whole community was there, taking the stone from the wall and taking all the stones into the middle of the field and creating a trough. Right. And we took that to mean that actually what we were being asked to do was to become a place of feeding rather than a place of structure. You've taken the structure down. Yeah. So we effectively just went, okay, well, we'll sit and we'll wait on the Lord and see what he does next. And you could actually argue that for the last 20 years now, which is exactly what it is, that's now 20 years, like it's 40 years since it started, then 20 years the Lord said, okay, to draw a line. And for the last 20 years, I mean, the community clearly is still there and active. We still get together for worship. We still do all these other different things. We still do outreaches together. We still create music together, but it's just not what it was. So, but what it is a place of feeding. When people still come. So it's kind of weird, I don't really know what to do. And I remember bringing this to somebody going, wow, this is the Lord's will. And he says, look, you got to remember, there's other people in other communities, and if the Lord told them to stop, they wouldn't hear him. Just keep going. That's what had happened. So you got to remember that you try to be as to listen as hard as you could, and we hopefully get the word right, and hopefully heard it the way it's supposed to be. But
and people kind of grew their own wee things as they went out. And started using Ray guys and all that. They were writing hard stuff in and looking at different stuff. And
can you imagine if we had remained I shouldn't say remained insular. I don't think we ever were particularly. We would have become insular. We didn't. And if we'd have done that, we were sucking up so much talent in this little pool.
Yeah.
And actually what happened was that pool immediately went straight back out into the church.
Yeah.
And churches.
Yeah. And there is a death and a sadness, not because it's such a wonderful, romantic, amazing.
Lasted, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
And I can kind of see, though, there was God's mercy in it because we had so many artistic and creative and sensitive types.
Yeah.
They felt very uncomfortable in other situations, right?
Yeah.
So it was almost like in His mercy, He brought us all together to sort of go, almost to find your tribe a little bit and to go, look, I'm not mad. Yeah. Actually, this is how I function. And to, that He loved us into being more of our real selves.
Yeah.
And that kind of then out of that, you can birth something new.
Yeah.
Because I think maybe if it hadn't been in that way, if people had tried to keep it together in communities that were very restrictive or churches that were very restrictive, it would have crushed. And the way, like it's hard to keep your faith going. And if you're in the wrong environment, you can pick up all kind of the wrong messages, and even physically then it starts to translate into your health and, and all of this. But I can see now, the way it does take a long time to have hindsight. Yeah. And certainly what we've learned in the world of therapy, that there is just, we personally refuse to do any hindsight without the eyes of compassion and to go, look, if you and I had known something 15, 20 years ago, we'd have done it. Yeah. But we didn't. Yeah. And this is how, I think it was meant to be like this. So yes, there was very much a grieving process after, kind of letting it go. And a lot of people were very confused and, on the outside as well, looking in and going, what are you doing?
Can't imagine God doing that,
Yeah, that doesn't sound like the Lord to me now. The Lord is the God of order. And you're like, have you met the Holy Spirit? Yeah. That is not what's happening here. So it's
definitely a wild goose. Definitely wild goose.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, less of the dove and more of the wild goose, apparently. But so it's, I suppose it's a matter now of, for us, it's like, well, we're not going to stop doing music. It's been a part of our lives. It's what brought us together. It's what brought us to Him. And, thankfully He continues to use that. And we'll keep doing that until He goes, stop.
Well, everybody, till the day they put their nail in the coffin, we all need that art, that part of our hearts that can sing and feel His love. That
yes.
kind of thing.
Yeah. It's a real way in.
Yeah.
Actually, I heard Brené Brown say the other day that creativity that isn't expressed is not benign. It becomes toxic and it metastasizes inside us and does damage. Yeah. So if there is creativity in our lives that we have no outlet for, it's going to, and so I know it mightn't feel like very sensible or easy to manage at times. It's really important that we do actually find that outlet.
That's why I say COVID, I built this. I sit in my house.
Yeah.
If I don't get an outlet for something, it's going to...
Well, thank goodness that you did.
Yeah. And then I could see news guys all the way through COVID you were doing me worship sets online. And people were connecting to that.
Yeah.
They were
Thanks for your help on that, by the way.
Oh,
you were very good. Really great help. Because literally the first night that we were on, I was like, look, just in terms of light, in terms of this, in terms of that, can you try this? With sound.
Your phone's got a better camera. Put your phone on your laptop.
The phone had a better mic.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the phone was, instantly better. So it was really good. Yeah. And then we got one of the little, things.
Nice.
So it was great.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's wonderful. So that adaptation, and then we had the glory days of the Celtic Tiger, and then we had this boom, and then just as far as culturally, everybody was kind of, I think, because I remember living in Dublin for the 5 years and then coming back. It felt like people had less time for people, not because we were all busy lives, but because we were running just to pay. The cost of living just went silly for people.
It did.
And the niceties were disappearing, that kind of stuff. And you said that we kind of blew our savings, and once we didn't play it smart when we had it.
Well, that's what I mean about we were like teenagers giving money.
Yeah.
Didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, great, let's do all this. And then you have to pay the piper then.
Yeah, no, it came back.
Still paying the piper, I'd say.
Indeed.
20 years old.
And I just plug that because I've been saying it, but they have saddled the whole South with bad debt of the bankers.
Yes.
The Lord and the government need to take it off. I don't care. It's like the PSSI with the insurance scheme. You're just saddled with stuff that's destroying families, and we're seeing suicides and all because people can't cope with this level of stress.
Definitely.
No, we don't have the enzymes for that. We literally don't. Yeah. It's just too much.
No, absolutely. And as David Williams said, when the Quaker family and the McGuinness family said no more than 1/4 of one salary for one family, anything more than that would be a burden on a family. Yeah. And now it's 10 times a salary in Dublin. silly stuff.
The real insight, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Guys weren't stupid. They
knew
what they were talking about.
So you're trying to now do ministry in a society that hasn't even time to hear because they think, I can't hear, it's too bad out there, I just need to run. And we're now in a new season, then you can't run with that because it'll kill you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
what's interesting is, I think, I've always been interested in what the prophetic voice is. And it seems to me that people who are kind of bucking the trend, you know, who are, you know, not doing it the normal way, who are not just trying to, you know, work themselves half to death and then squeeze in a half an hour for church or 2 hours for church on Sunday morning. That's not really, it's like as though the Lord is again doing something new, where basically he's getting people to live lives that are, you know, less ordinary. And that's the thing that we need to keep our eyes open for, because God is always doing something creative, and there's always a creative solution to what's going on. That's what I want.
And he'll release, cattle on 1,000 hill, he'll release even from the wicked. Do you know what I mean? Because even all our hearts will work at different times, but there's times where I've seen something like the pearl of great price, you follow him. If we remind people of their real core values and needs, wherever that currency is that needs to support, really need to nurture people, that should get released if people get the vision right.
That's right.
Because people will go, oh, we're not doing this right. That's the thing.
And look, even if we do it wrong, remember, even when we are unfaithful, he is faithful, because he cannot be untrue to himself. You know, it's like, that's the thing that is beautiful about God, is like, he will, even when we're only getting it half right or partially right, he'll still be true to himself. He'll still bless us. You know what I mean? Which I think is beautiful.
But it's almost like an inbuilt little, you know, almost like a self-correcting thing to go, you can't rely entirely on yourself. We're not supposed to. Like, we are absolutely wired for that connection. So just even the idea of like, come to me, ask me, you know, and I love that, you know, and I know we would all rather be able to sort a lot of things out on our own and not have to make ourselves vulnerable or feel the shame of needing help. But just the relief when you do ask, and I know it takes time, because the timing to me in my mind, it's a bit slow at times, but apparently perfect. But it's been able to kind of ride that out and not feel like I have to have the answer to everything. Like, we've certainly discovered over the years that, you know, the truth that, you know, the opposite of faith is uncertainty. And being able to handle that and to not try and nail everything down, because, you know, just when you think, oh, I know he's exactly like this, something else will happen. You go, hold on a minute. So there's that ongoing need to kind of be flexible, but to stay connected, because that's the real difficulty, that once you become, you know, too isolated, that makes it much harder.
Obviously the church is going through this synodal thing. And I think we've always kind of been asking in the charismatic world, what's the Spirit saying to the church? Do you know what I mean? Kind of thing. And whether it be the Relay European Network, I remember reading about Winky Pratt, you know, YWAM guy wrote, he says, if you want to have a vision for a town, you need to have a city vision. If you want to have a picture for a city, you need to have a national vision. If you want to have a national vision, you need to know what's going on in Europe. That they all play back. And so we were kind of going there, we're trying to nurture hearts and minds, but we're also got needs, and how do we grow and nurture? And so we were networking at a bigger scale. You know, act locally, think globally. And we're trying to, what kind of resources are out there, Lord, that you're trying to, but also what are you doing in Germany? What are you doing in the Netherlands?
Always very helpful. I just come back from those conferences absolutely buzzed up, because I would feel like somebody would have said something to me that had not even occurred to me. Like, you know, that God's working over here doing this thing, and you were like, it would just open a door in your head. It was, and we just need to be in connection with each other, people, you know, people who are really, really seeking the Lord on the other side of the world. And that's, you know, I was saying I emceed the Eucharistic Congress back in 2012, and just even talking backstage to some of those archbishops and cardinals and some, you know, people who are like just lay people, and you were like, what on earth, people's lives. I just in terms of vision, it blew my mind entirely, you know? Amazing. And
when I ended up, we were at Relay, I think it was Relay, in Cardinal Schönborn in Vienna with him. And I remember Bruce Clute and all these guys had invited him in, and he had a big heart for Northern Ireland, whatever was going on. I remember being in the room with him, and there was people from all over Europe in this network. And he'd gone round, he said, where are you from? And he said, Northern Ireland. And that was obviously right. Back in the ceasefire, you know, we're all like, and everybody's honing in and what's going on over there at the minute, you know. But them connections to other countries and how they've seen us and how we've seen ourselves even, that was very helpful input. I mean, you're wrapped up in yourself.
Yes.
And you feel isolated and you're hiding and you're cloaking in there and it's...
and shame, you know.
Yeah.
You just feel like, I get the ick when I start describing this. And yet what was going on was phenomenal. What was going on was really miraculous.
Yeah. So that... Yeah, so I do see that sort of people trying to listen to the Spirit again, going, okay, they've had this massive shrinking, you know, judgment we give to the family. There's been a lot of purification, you know, a lot of pruning for the church, and now it's going, can we dream again? Is there a potential to dream beyond this?
And you know what I love now is we're now the age that those old guys were when they were encouraging us and mentoring us. And I love the idea that we get a chance to be those guys. You know, we get to go in and anoint things and go, see that? That's great.
Yeah.
Like Father John McGeady pointing across the room and going, Holy Spirit's just turned up over there.
Yeah.
And you're like, we now have the eyes to be able to see that.
Yeah.
And we can tell some of the young people that we're working with, it's just what happened over there.
Yeah.
And that helps them because they're...
Yeah. And dare I risk doing this? Oh yeah, you could do that for 3 years and you'd be great at it.
Yeah.
3 years. Oh yeah. Knowing the confidence of that.
We've been doing it for years, and it's just like, I love the potential of that, the idea of being the guys who come in with the wisdom now. I love that. Not that we have all the wisdom we don't have, but we've some.
Because we never do, when you're in it, you're just going through it. Yes. But that hindsight, you should say, comes, you go, I didn't know that took 5 years before when you get to that, you know, or that.
For sure.
Our timeline's better looking back as far as interpreting it goes.
For sure.
So
good luck editing this.
Yeah, no, I don't even have to. It just flows like this. I don't edit it at all. I just swap the cameras around. So we'll just finish with a prayer, maybe, because there's a lot in there. Guys, thank you. There was a lot in that, and we need to get near psychotherapy and attachment issues and all, you know, why people's hearts are the way they are, you know. So, yeah, maybe just pray for this wee land.
Yeah.
Lord, I want to thank you for the place where we live. That you love us and you love other people. And I thank you that you've got a plan for us all. And it's a plan for a future full of hope. Thank you that you look upon us and we are greatly loved, all of us. All of us are greatly, greatly loved by you. And that you are always bringing your hesed, that mercy, that rebirthing love into our lives. Bringing new love, possibilities, new hope, new beginning. And Lord, help us not to despise the day of small beginnings, because really, sometimes with our old heads on us, we tend to, we say that's not such a big deal. Every time we show up, Lord, big deal. Lord, honor that, see it, and bring, just bring whatever it is your heart is, your will, bring that to fruition. In this country, and in this continent, and in this world.
I do pray for these young families who maybe feel they can't dream of a future, no hope, and for hearts that feel despondent.
Yeah.
That you would bring a new current into their wee world, into their wee rivers in life, and turn things around for them. Like you did for us, our friends, our Annas, whomever. Just for those moments of encounter with people who have your heart for them.
And I just pray, Lord, give us the eyes that would actually see you moving, that we'd be able to actually find those little green shoots, Lord, see where you're working, and the encouragement that can be, Lord.
Thanks, Don. Great to see you.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.